right, let's see if you can hear me this morning. I think you can. John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out as you always do. Hair's out of control. What else is new there? Even a headset can't help you here. So give me how long, the entire show basically to mash this stuff down. Let's see. The picks are in the Discord for this week. When it came to last night, remember, the Armenian Premier League is what kicks us off at 11 o'clock for picks of the week for those of you in the Discord. So, John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out as you always do. We're going to be taking a bit of a tour today. Obviously, we've got to look into the announcement at 3 o'clock for the big pomp and circumstance and show and all the things for the announcement of the USMNT. That happens today. They come down here to the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center, and they get to hang out here, I believe, through Saturday. And we'll try and effort stuff out of there and let you know what's going on as they're getting acclimated to one another. List has been out in various forms and discussion points. And if you missed the discussion that Maddie and Bart had yesterday about getting it right, not getting it right, who's in, who's out, those kinds of things, that's also up on the network. You can dial up that however you dial up the show, whether it is in video form or in audio form on your favorite podcatcher. So we'll go over the list again. And obviously, there are a couple of surprises, a couple of folks maybe in lane 8 that weren't considered. We'll get into that here this morning. Kaylor Hodges set to join us at 10:30 to talk about the busy 30 days in USL. We're going to talk Spokane a lot. We're going to get into USL Championship and League One and all the things. There was a big article in the Spokesman Review in Spokane detailing all of the issues that either were being had specific to the Zephyr or are being had specific to Velocity and Zephyr and playing in the stadium that they're playing in. So there's a lot to get into there. Might be the majority of our time. We've also got to get into Jesse Marsh. He has re-upped for another cycle. This cycle hasn't started, and he's re-upped for another one. Got to get into West Ham. We do have not necessarily a John Texter update, but we do have a Texter adjacent update with Botafogo. We do have that to get into this morning. And it's visiting old friends where that's concerned. So it seems like the same pennies that have been a part of the discussion keep cycling through. We'll go over the week that was in Major League Soccer, all the craziness that was attached there. Phil Neville is out in Portland. We have what is referred to in television news as an MOS, which now, folks, they will, instead of talking to as many folks on the street, they will go into social media and they will do that instead. So it was the post-mortem by one of the TV stations in Portland, and they went to social media to sit there and say, well, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So we've got that in the queue as well. So we'll go over what happened in the week that was in Major League Soccer. We'll go over the U.S. men's national team. We'll go over what's going on in Canada. And I'm trying to think. In addition to, we'll hear from Bradley Carnell after the chaos that happened in Miami. I can say that now because new stadium is in downtown Miami. So we do have coaches sound and coaches stuff to get into as well. So all of that here this morning. Like I said, Kaylor Hodges is going to come in to talk USL since school is out, and Kaylor can join us at normal hours. So school is out. Kaylor's going to join us at 10:30 to talk about Spokane, USL Championship, League One, and all the things. We also have a championship coming up this weekend in USL. We're efforting perspectives from Lexington on the women's side, the USL Super League Championship. It's Carolina Ascent and Lexington. And so we are efforting perspectives from both of those clubs as they get ready for the championship game in Lexington this weekend. So there's a lot to get into this morning, a lot of different things to kind of catch us up on the weekend, considering that Atlanta traditionally, for those of you that are hopping in for the first time, it is Monday is our day to kind of look back from a home team perspective and look at things, plus what else is on Bart's mind, play calls from the weekend, etc. Then Tuesday, we kind of get settled back into the stuff that we might have missed on Monday, that you might have missed from soccer over there last night, and get into the West Ham situation and just how mismanaged it seems to be. And now there's a debate involving Nuno Espirito Santo and whether or not he will actually go. So you do have influential folks who are sitting there saying, nah, it's cool, let him hang. And then a lot of folks are sitting there going, nah, he needs to go. So we've got a lot to get into from a bunch of different places here this morning. And so it's also what your thoughts are on the weekend. What did we miss? All of that. Wanted to start with opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com, with a moment that might have been missed on the weekend. And, you know, with all of the leagues that are going on right now, obviously, it's kind of hard sometimes to catch up with anything and everything that goes on in the sport, because you've got the summer leagues kicking in, you've got League Two kicking in at points, you've got the NPSL getting ready, W League is up and running, all the other leagues involving the professional stuff here in the States, they're up and running. But we had a moment this weekend in Pittsburgh. We'll share that with you in a sec. Opening kickoff brought to you by Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com, starting your day with the most important stories in the game, right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. It was a goalie goal, and I don't know if you've seen this particular goalie goal, but this was a smash. For this, we go to the W League, USL W League, and it is the Pittsburgh Riveters. Literally, that is who it is. It is the Pittsburgh Riveters, and it is. Let me see if I can I want to get the lowdown here correct. Great Forest Division champs in 25, and you end up with a goal at the death, a goalie goal at the death. So you end up with a moment like this in the Flower City 1872 Pittsburgh Riveters match from the weekend. Here's your highlight, courtesy of the Riveters, their own selves.
Into the air, high, off of a couple of heads, back out, Herford fires and scores! Bailey Herford has tied the game in extra time!
Unbelievable. Bailey Herford.
The Mountaineer product has shut the lights down!
I don't think anybody was expecting that. What a good ball in, and just looking like a midfielder.
And you end up with that moment for the Riveters to resurrect the point. Bailey Herford from West Virginia absolutely smashed it. And so what if you haven't had the chance to see it, you do a like Pittsburgh Riveters search. But the absolute smash by Bailey Herford, Riveters come back for a 3-3 draw against Flower City 1872. So 2 matches in, win, draw for Pittsburgh. And they were unbeaten at home last year, and they play where the Riverhounds play. So it is now, instead of Highmark, it's now FNB. I'm guessing First National Bank. So you end up with that smash from inside the 18 and made a save. And then you end up with coming off lines a couple of times. Riveters hit the road for the first time in 26. They go to Steel City in Indiana Township for this goal. But Bailey Herford from West Virginia, the West Virginia product, gets the goal north of 90. You end up with Flower City getting the lead in the 81st. Riveters behind for the first time in the 26th season. Final minute of stoppage time. Everybody in for the last corner. Butera sends it in. Emmy Butera sends it in. It wasn't cleared. Bailey Herford just smashes it. So you end up with a goalie goal, and you end up with her first goal ever, apparently. Regardless of level, Bailey Herford scores her first goal ever, and that's kind of why we love the game. to have moments like this, regardless of division, regardless of the chaos. And so Bailey Herforth, West Virginia, goalie goal. That is opening kickoff here today. Morning, Abby. Morning, Ricky. Once again, brought to us by our friends, Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend, made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. So today at 3 o'clock, it is one of those days. And the announcement is officially official, where we find out who the 26 are that will be on the roster heading to the cup that the world is chasing after here in 16 days, which is crazy to think about. Seriously, when you think about it, and that we're looking at a World Cup that is 16 days away. By the way, Uzbekistan released the video for their jersey, and it's a pretty cool video. It's about 1:12, and it's out there on social media. But if you have the chance to go dig it, I mean, it's very, very cool, well done, well put together, and I would recommend just to kind of see it. But yeah, it's reminds me a lot of other road whites and other home blues, but nevertheless, very, very cool stuff. And you've got the Uzbek football, the Uzbek Football Association. They finally have their video out, and it's a pretty cool jersey. So, for the record, it's a pretty cool jersey. Now, here is once again, we talked about it yesterday, but let's go over the roster in and of itself. So you end up with the three keepers: Matt Freese, Matt Turner, Chris Brady. And I know that the discussion was where, well, maybe is Chris Brady the third. And then you end up with the discussion, okay, so Matt Freese, Matt Turner, that's your discussion on your number one, your number two. Chris Brady is there as your number three. There were discussions, and Bart Kaylor rose the thought that it could have been possibly Patrick Schulte that would be in the discussion. So those are your three keepers. Your center backs: Chris Richards, Tim Ring, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson. Obviously, Chris Richards right now, he is trying to be fast-tracked with any kind of electric stimulation known to mankind to help in the recovery of the ligaments in the ankle. Ligaments in the ankle behave a little differently, or a lot differently, than ligaments in the knee. So it is as fast-tracked as humanly possible. But if Chris Richards is having any kind of an issue, once again, what does that do to your lineup? Maddie had suggested perhaps Austin Trusty and Chris Richards from what we had seen here in Atlanta with the friendlies that are there. So that's question number one. Question number two is we go by position group. But question number one, Chris Richards and his health. I guess I should ask those of you out there this morning if you're going to watch the thing at 3 o'clock. Morning, Katie Weaver. You're going to watch the thing at 3 o'clock, or because the list is already out, you're going to just sit there and go, I'm good. But question number one, Chris Richards. So then your fullbacks: Jedi, Serginho Dest, Alex Freeman, Joe Scally, Max Arfston. I know that Bart has not been high on Max Arfston. I have, in seeing him in the Nazi system, I'm wondering if he is going to have the same kind of offensive freedom under Mauricio Pochettino. Morning, David. So we get to find out what's going on with that. Abby is wondering if you can call in more to camp. You can. I think they were debating adding another couple coming into camp, but I don't know if it was position specific to the center back issue. You can bring in a couple of guys just to get them reps, and I think Andrew Rick was one of the two that was being added, possibly, and that might have been why partly he was not in the Philadelphia Union 2 match with Atlanta United 2, and why he was in with Philly in the first team but not starting on the weekend in Miami. So, yeah, I think Andrew Rick is one of those two that was brought in, or that is thought to be brought in. I'll get my verb tense right here. So they are bringing in others into camp, yes. Joe Scally, I mean, if you mention the words Joe Scally to Bart, that scream you heard was Bart. So you wonder what the fullbacks are going to look like. And personally, if it's me, it's Alex Freeman. I would start him on the right-hand side, considering what we saw from his development in Orlando City, starting with Orlando City B. Alex Freeman on the right-hand side, then he goes to first team. Orlando City takes advantage of that and his electric season that he had and move him on to Europe. Central midfielders, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Roldan, Sebastian Berhalter. Berhalter, for me, was one of those late ads that you're sitting there going, yep, that's kind of like a past year compilation reinforced by what Vancouver has been able to do over the last little bit. So you end up with Berhalter, Roldan, and and in this roster, I think you need those experienced guys. You can call them glue guys, call them experienced guys, call them whatever you want. But I think you need those moments with those guys to be able to, when you need someone to come in, lock a game down, when you need someone to come in, be physical, when you need someone to come in, take advantage of a situation, I think that's why you bring in a Christian Roldan. Attacking midfielders and wingers, so just attacking mids basically, and you can put them either here or there. Pulisic, Weah, Tillman, Reyna, Aronson, and Zendejas. You figured 3, maybe 4 of those 6, everybody was kind of copacetic on. Then obviously you're looking at Gio Reyna and you're looking at Alejandro Zendejas. I'm so used to calling him Alex. You look at that group and you're sitting there and it's like, well, Alex Zendejas hadn't been called into camp since September, was not a part of the March friendlies here in Atlanta. Brace and assists, second leg in Pumas, knocking off Pumas for Club America. And so Pochettino has said that Alejandro Zendejas can adapt well to the group dynamic. And with how he was catching fire late in the year in the most important moments in a Clausura tournament, you can see where the rationale is coming from. I know everybody's looking at Gio Reyna sitting there going minutes. You know, it's like where do these minutes? What are you looking at from Gio Reyna? Apparently, there is some faith in there on Gio Reyna, and once again, this is a decision that has been put forth by Mauricio Pochettino and his side, and his squad, and his coaching staff, and all the consultations and meetings behind hermetically sealed doors and all that. So they think that Gio Reyna can be that kind of a catalyst inserted into the role that they want him to be in. Strikers Balogun, Pepe, and Haji Wright. Flair and Balogun had a hot start, kind of faded in Ligue 1. Ricardo Pepe with PSV had a fantastic season. Haji Wright did really well for Coventry in their eventual promotion into the Premier League and winning the EFL Championship the way they did. So if you look at this 26, if this is in fact the 26, yes, I know the roster has been leaked, but until the moment within the 3:00 hour in New York City, where Mauricio Pochettino actually says the names himself, we still, I believe, have to treat this as, yes, this has been leaked. 3 o'clock is the pomp and circumstance leading up to that. But you look at this bunch, like I said, there are questions that are here. The injury to Chris Richards. Then you're looking at the form of Christian Pulisic. Yes, there was no doubt that Christian Pulisic was going to be a part. Don't go down that road. I'm just saying you're worried about form going into this tournament. You have strikers that in Haji Wright and Ricardo Pepi did very, very well for their clubs this season. Can they continue that form internationally? Flair and Balogun, you know what he can bring to the table, but his form was much like Pulisic's, where you started out well and then you faded. So concern there, can you shake that off and just come to the table with what the coaching staff knows you can bring to the pitch on a daily basis? But Alejandro Zendejas was one of those names that was like, okay, hadn't been called into camps, but once again, in the highest profile pressure situations in Liga MX, he performed well. And so you're looking at bringing him in as a part of this discussion. Gio Reyna, I know, is going to be a question mark. He's a lightning rod. I get it. So you look at Gio Reyna, and I know that Christian Roldan is a lightning rod. Doesn't necessarily light up the scorebook for you, but he gives you those other intangibles that fit the jigsaw that you're looking for on a roster. Joe Scally, I know, is a lightning rod. Max Arston, I know, is a lightning rod. But the questions are really right now, with this roster, if this is the roster, and like I said, until the moment in New York, or until we get the release, then this is a list. It is not the list. Yes, like I said, yes, this has been leaked and pieced together. But until the pomp and circumstance and Serpentina and everything that goes on in New York City this afternoon, we still have to treat this as a list. Yes, while assembled, it has not come out of the mouth or the hand of Mauricio Pochettino. So I think the questions in this, and if you guys have other questions, feel free to let me know. But I think the questions here are the health of Chris Richards. How does that reorient your center back rotation or your center back lineup? Then you look at the domestic form of Joe Scally. Like I said, I'm not questioning Max Arston. From what we've been able to see through his development with Wilfred Nancy and there in Columbus, we have seen him accelerate his national pattern to where he's a part of the discussion. But like I said, I'd like to see the same kind of freedom that he gets in Columbus employed occasionally with the men's national team. I don't know if he's supposed to stay at home in this system or not, or if he takes advantage of situations, then go for it. Then, obviously, like I said, here we go. It is the health of Chris Richards, the fullbacks, Christian Roldan. Like I said, these are your lightning rods. Gio Reyna, and I'm not going to have Alejandro Zendejas as a lightning rod. I'm really not. But then that leads you to questions from others about the likes of, say, a Xavier Gozo, a Diego Luna, let's see, who else is it? Who else? Oh, Tanner Tessman. That was a third one. I was trying to figure out what the third one was. But Tessman, you don't know if the Tessman omission was because of injury, and that has been the conventional wisdom, is that it is because of injury. Questioned right now, not sure. We have to wait for the explanation from Mauricio Pochettino on a Tanner Tessman. Started 22 of 29 matches for Lyon in Ligue 1. Lyon. Say that 10 times fast. 6 training camps, 9 Europa League appearances. And then not having Diego Luna as a part of the discussion and Xavier Gozo. when he was asked about it over the weekend. Obviously, Pablo Mastroeni's disappointed for his guys. And Aiden Morris apparently is also out as well. So, questions on the outside, Tanner Tessman, Diego Luna, Aiden Morris. Questions on the inside, Christian Roldan, Joe Scally, Gio Reyna. Fair? So, I mean, it's if you go over a list of 26 and you're looking at 3, percentage-wise, obviously not bad, but Reyna, because of him being a lightning rod, do you rest on his form in domestic competitions? And apparently that's where this is coming from, plus, background and all of that with Gio Reyna. So that's kind of where we are. So I think that if you look at the roster, I think that there are 3 positions on the roster, not positions on the field, but positions inside the roster itself, that everybody's kind of sitting there going, wait a minute. So we wait until 3 o'clock and the made-for-TV event to see what the explanations are, if they are given. So I think it's safe to say that, maybe 3 players plus an injury in a key position are what folks have the thought bubbles and the question marks over their head about when it comes to this roster. So like I said, we'll get the answers, 3 o'clock, made-for-TV event on the big FOX. Not really going to watch it. So it was like, I'm good to go. 26-man roster. Pier 17 at the South Street Seaport, Lower Manhattan. I'm guessing there might be. All right, so let me look at this. Let's look at our friends at the Google Maps. And I want to get the South Street Seaport. South Street Seaport. If I could spell Seaport. All right, so South Street Seaport. And we'll just say home. How about that? And what if we fly? Okay, so South Street Seaport. Now, if I leave now, it's a 13-hour drive. Flying up there, it's $230. It's a $238 flight, but it's a 13.5-hour drive if you don't stop. So, if we go to the South Street Seaport Museum Lighthouse and we take a peek about where it is, and I'm trying to take a look and see if there is anything. Whoops, no. All right, so I'm trying to see from the South Street Seaport, rotate the view. I'm trying to rotate here. Let me rotate. I'm trying to see from the South Street Seaport if there is a view of anything specific. I was thinking that there might be like a Statue of Liberty behind or something like that for the presentation. So it appears South Street Seaport, Pier 17. Okay, so rooftop Pier 17. Okay. All right, let's go back. Hang on. That's the Museum Lighthouse. Pier 17, South Street, New York. Okay, let's go here. I'm trying to think like a TV producer here for a second. Okay, so if we rotate, if you're on the rooftop, all right. So it is picturesque. That I will not dispute. So if you, yeah, okay. So here's why. If it is orchestrated properly, and I'm fairly certain that the folks at FOX were looking at the sight lines, there will be, I can pretty much guarantee you, the way that the stage is angled, you will have the Statue of Liberty behind you. Because looking at Pier 17 and looking at our friends the Google Maps, I pulled the map out a little bit, you're going to see the Statue of Liberty in the background. So it will be red, white, and blue, Statue of Liberty, Serpentina, confetti cannons, probably, maybe a red carpet with some bunting, but Statue of Liberty behind. That was what I was trying to think of as a producer from a television standpoint. Statue of Liberty's behind me. So that's what you're staring at. So the southern point of Manhattan, Brooklyn Bridge, Statue of Liberty, that's there. So that's what you're looking at behind you. Hey, look at this pit. Okay. So let's play television here for a second. So what I would anticipate is this: you're going to have a combination of whomever is on the rooftop, whatever the setup is, however many chairs you have, or if you don't have chairs and you just have folks with microphones. Pier 17 on the rooftop. You're going to have chopper shot, probably title card over wide with the chopper, and it'll be the shot from the chopper will be of the rooftop at Pier 17. It will pull out, and you will see, and you will hear Rob Stone talking about a great day for U.S. soccer as they get ready for the World Cup here in this hemisphere in U.S. shores. And we're here to deliver the U.S. men's national team roster of 26, the 26 hopefuls trying to bring a World Cup trophy home to the United States here and keep it here in 2026 for the World Cup that is going to be played in the United States, in Canada, and Mexico. And it will have pulled out, and you'll see the Brooklyn Bridge, and you'll see the Statue of Liberty from on high before they come to the close-up shot of Rob Stone, where he is marked, and there is tape probably at some point, where you will see either the Brooklyn Bridge or the Statue of Liberty behind Rob as he continues his intro and opening monologue. He'll break down everything that's going on. He'll tell you who's here: Carly Lloyd, Alexi Lawless, Stu Holden, John Strong, all of our friends here from Fox, ready and willing to give you the full World Cup experience coming up in just 16 days here on the Fox family of networks. But the reason that we are here is to announce to you, the viewing public, the 26-man roster for the U.S. men's national team here in 2026. And let me bring in head coach Mauricio Pochettino. Coach, opening soundbite. Thanks, Coach. We'll catch up with you in a bit. Then you go to analysis from analysts that are there. They have their little quick pops off the top. And then you might go to commercial. That's your A block. That's how I think I would be stacking this show. I have no intention really of watching it. I'm probably going to be, I've got a Zoom meeting at 3 o'clock anyway, so it might be on a monitor, but I may not necessarily be paying full attention to it. So that's my A block if I'm producing this thing. We'll see how close it comes to that this afternoon, 3 o'clock, once again. Rooftop, Pier 17, South Street, Manhattan, Brooklyn Bridge, and Statue of Liberty behind me. So that's kind of where I am with all this. And thank you, Ricky, that the rosters are still flexible until June 1st. I don't anticipate a whole lot of decisions being made unless you go to the 31st this weekend. You look at Chris Richards and you're going, but you're going to want him to come with, much like Lamine Yamal, although I am not comparing Chris Richards to Lamine Yamal. His importance, yes. Chris Richards will be on this roster, and, they're going to help him with the ankle and have him ready. Lamine Yamal, obviously, not going to play in the first match of the group stage, might not play in the second, but he's there for the entire run. So that is how I would structure this program that is going to be on television screens, a couple, starting at 3 o'clock. That's how I would do the A block. I don't know how long this program is set to be. I imagine it's supposed to be an hour, but we'll find out. So questions until June 1st. And then you go with your questions, and we'll see if we have any answers. So that is 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we get to see the official announcements. As of right now, no Tessman, no Luna, no Gozo, no Morris. Roldan, Zendejas, Reyna, And there you go. So that is your rundown for 3 o'clock this afternoon. For the team that is nationally north, one of the 3 co-hosts in this, they had an announcement yesterday with their current coach. And here was said announcement, courtesy of our friends at Canada Soccer.
Hello, Canada. Jesse Marsh here, your men's national team soccer coach. Really excited to announce that I will be extending my stay here in Canada with this team and with this program for 4 years. So love this team, love our guys, believe in what we're doing, believe in the potential of what we can achieve at the World Cup and beyond. And obviously the World Cup is a really important moment for us, for the country, for this program. But we also know there's a lot of work to be done from grassroots all the way up through the professional ranks of what the sport is in the country. And I'm really excited to continue to find ways to unite, to make us better and stronger, to help young kids in the next generation to live their dreams of being great professionals and in future World Cups. So thank you all so much for the support. Let's get ready for the summer. All right, man, excited. Let's do this.
So that's the words from Jesse Marsh. He's hanging out for a while. Jesse Marsh is going to, this cycle's not even over. Tournament hasn't even started. And he has been signed on for a new cycle. So he's hanging out under contract for a while. He's going to be under contract for a while. And the deal is through 2030, and it is funded. Remember how we were talking about how this go round it was funded, and he actually had he has the current title, and I'm guessing it's through this particular cycle. He was given the title of MLS Canada head coach because this was the philanthropic contributions by the Whitecaps, Joey Saputo, and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and supplemented by other private donors at the time. So formally titled when he picked up the position, MLS Canada men's national team head coach during the term of his initial contract. So until, and I don't know if they ripped up the contract now that they signed this extension or not, but yes, MLS Canada men's national team head coach Jesse Marsh. That was what your lower third is supposed to read. And so it was, it was attempted to be explained by Canada Soccer at the time. It's like, hey, this happens all over the place. And I'm like, well, yeah, it does. And they cited an example. And we see this in college athletics all the time. So-and-so family, field at blank, insert family here, insert building or facility or surface, sponsor attachment here. We see that in college athletics all the time. Canada Soccer was like, well, but this happens and it's common in NCAA sport. Yeah, it is. You got to do what you got to do. I was concerned. I'm still concerned. I was concerned at the time about infrastructure and facilities and being able to conduct day-to-day operations. I still am. But business, seems to be picking up. You signed Jesse Marsh for another cycle. He doesn't have that title. He doesn't have MLS Canada men's national team head coach. The extension, majority funded by philanthropists from 5 Canadian families. Oh, I can't say that one. I can't say what this particular bot ID is about. I'm going to block them first. So they've been blocked, and now they're being reported, especially with their name. It's like, come up with a better name. It's a name that you can actually call out. Viewer, solicitation, bot. 23 characters, submit report, get them out of my face. So 5 Canadian families who've made significant commitments in support of the sustained progress of the men's national team and further investment into soccer in Canada. There is no concrete numbers attached to this level of investment. But the 5 families, oh, there are so many jokes. The 5 families are keeping Jesse Marsch around for another cycle. Yeah, and that, David, this was the thing for me. It's like you give him an extension now. You give him an extension now. And it's 5 families. The 5 families. This is going to be the gift that keeps on giving in a way that we did not anticipate. The 5 families got together. I have this vision now of a closed door meeting at, say, CN Tower. Like the 5 families, they go up. They're the only ones allowed. It's like after hours at CN Tower. Everybody else is gone. All the tourists are gone. They've hung up the pumpkin suits for going outside and hanging over the edge. It's like they close at 8. Everybody's out. 9 o'clock, the 5 families go up the elevator to the observation deck at CN Tower. Finest meats and cheeses, long table, white tablecloths. They're not necessarily there to hang around and eat. They don't want like full meals. It's like really good appetizers, maybe. You get some Aero bars from Zellers. The high-powered Mountain Dew, which they do have, by the way. They have like Mountain Dew that is next level up. You know, maybe you go to Pizza, 767 1111. You go, maybe you go to Swiss Chalet or something, you get a buffet or something like that. So the 5 families, after closing time at CN Tower, they go up to the observation deck. It's a clear night. You can kind of see out to Lake Ontario. You see over to the airport. You see over to the airport on the island. You wander over to the other side. You see the planes going into Pearson off in the distance. I'm giving it a benefit of the doubt that it's a clear night. It's my story. So 9 o'clock, the 5 families come up to the CN Tower. Like I said, long white tablecloths. You stand at that one part of the CN Tower where you can look down. You see everything going on below you. The 5 families get together and they have this conversation over pizza. Hey, let's do this for Canada Soccer. Isn't this great? You go around to one side, you sit there, you look at the observation deck, you sit there and you look at and you see BMO Field, you sit there and you see the expansion to 42,000. Hey, isn't this great? We're right here on the verge of hosting the world. You know what we ought to do? Take a mozzarella stick, dip it in the tomato dip. You know what we ought to do? We ought to get together. We ought to sign Jesse Marsch. We ought to keep him around. Well, but he hadn't done anything yet in this World Cup. I know, but hey, it's great for the program. You in? That's like, maybe like 11. It's like if it's the 5 families, you're anticipating 10 people, but you need an 11th for a majority vote. So the 5 families, they're all dressed in black, having pizza, mozzarella sticks, highfalutin champagne, maybe some Labatt's or some Molson or something. They're just kind of hanging out. Yeah, let's sign Jesse to a new deal. Let's go ahead and do that. But this World Cup hadn't started yet. I know. That's okay. We'll be all right. He'll be here for 4 years. He'll be here for another 4. We'll get through this cycle. It'll be great. We'll capitalize on the momentum. He'll be with us for another 4 years through 2030. We'll be all right. Yeah, okay, sounds great. And so the 5 families, they go down. They go down from the observation deck. Then they go over to Canada Soccer headquarters as a group. You see this motorcade basically of black limos. But it's not like the limos. It's like the the Chevy trucks and things like that. They all go. And they go to Canada Soccer headquarters. And they're like, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to go up to Ottawa. We're just going to drive up to Ottawa. You see the picture of them all driving through the night. They're driving from Toronto to Ottawa. You get the shots from the side of the road where it's like this 2-lane road with not a whole lot of traffic on it. You just see like this, this series of these Chevys just going up, up the road from Toronto to Ottawa. You go to Metcalfe Street in Ottawa, Ontario. It's daylight. They drove through the night after having their meeting. First thing in the morning, like, 8:30, doors open. Like before even you get in the range of the motion detector, the doors just open. Everybody that was at the meeting at the CN Tower, they just come filing in. And they peel off to one side. They go into a room. And then you end up with camera outside, bunch of folks around a table, bunch of folks wearing Canada Soccer gear. Conference room maybe seats 20. They're all standing around. Quickest meeting they've ever had. The 5 families come in. We're signing Jesse to a new deal. We'll pay for it. Canada Soccer's like, well, okay. Let's rubber stamp this. And so then they sit there and you hear muffled applause and congratulations through the hermetically sealed room and the glass, 13 feet high glass table, matching chairs. You hear, ah! They're happy. Release comes out. Jesse says what he says in 58 seconds. Marinara. Thank you, Abby. That's the word I was looking for. Marinara was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Abby. But yeah, you have the big celebration, and then you have Jesse put out the video in 58 seconds that he put out yesterday. Yep, the 5 families came together. And so the extension is there for Jesse Marsh. Trying to see if there's anything else that was put out into the ether involving the signing yesterday. So extended through 2030, makes the commitment through the 2030 cycle. Fine, I accept all of the cookies. And so statement from Jesse Marsh, 12, 12, and 5, 37 goals, conceding 23 in 29 matches. Copa America finishing 4th. Program record ranking of 26th in September of 25, going 24 places from 50 in over a year and a half. And this is the wording from Canada Soccer after that meeting that we were talking about where all the 5 families drove through the night and they went from Toronto to Ottawa. Marsh's extension is indicative of Canada Soccer's long-term ambition for continuity, excellence, and sustained growth as the organization builds beyond the 2026 FIFA World Cup trademark and into the next chapter of Canadian soccer. The extension is majority funded by philanthropists from 5 Canadian families who've made significant commitments in support of the sustained progress of the men's national team and further investment into soccer in Canada. # 5 families. That's not in there. Kevin Blue, CEO, General Secretary. Jesse's contribution as our men's national team coach has been exceptional, both on and off the field. Instilled a clear identity, raised the competitive bar for our team. Look forward to charting a longer-term course with Jesse's head coach of the men's program and thank the donors who are supporting this reappointment. End quote, Kevin Blue, CEO, General Secretary. Traveled across the country leading a coaching education tour involving countless soccer coaches and leaders in communities in Canada. That's awesome. Commitment to including Canadian coaches in his men's national team staff and engaging coaches across the CPL has helped coaching in Canada reach new standards. Peter Alguersuo, president of Canada Soccer, mentions that he's an outstanding leader, including as a broader ambassador for the game who's engaged with our PTSOs, Canadian coaches in the larger soccer community across the country. Canada Soccer and the Canada Soccer Foundation would like to thank supporters who are instrumental in providing funding for Marsh's reappointment, including Vancouver Whitecaps ownership, Carmi and Joey Saputo Foundation, Seth Burrow and Jen Hamilton, the Adnani family, and a donor who has chosen to remain anonymous. So, Whitecaps ownership, still investing in their country, Carmi and Joey Saputo Foundation. So you have 2 of the 3 teams in Major League Soccer. Seth Burrow and Jen Hamilton, the Adnani family, and a donor who has chosen to remain anonymous. I'm wondering who that 5th donor is, and I'm wondering why there was no mention of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. That's just me. Thinking a lot. Thinking a lot about that 5th donor and thinking a lot about Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. So the 5 families got together, including one anonymous family. And Jesse Marsh is staying through 2030. Smart move, obviously, for Canada Soccer to keep Jesse Marsh around. I don't think, my gut tells me, I don't think that he's going to be there for the entire cycle. I mean, if he does, more power to him. But a 4-year commitment, especially leading into the end of your first contract, like I said, you're sitting there going, we'll go ahead and sign him now. You want to lock him in now. And I understand the continuity issue that's attached to it. But you locked him in now for the next 4 years. Like I said, I don't anticipate he stays. That is a rare individual. You got him up to top 25 in the world. But that's a long road. That is a long road. Jesse Marsh locked in through 2030. So the training camp squad for his roster was named 6, 12, 17, 24, 29, 32. And there's 32 on the training camp roster. And they're going to be in Charlotte starting yesterday. We're going to be in Charlotte through Monday. And then he's going to name the World Cup roster. Tell me if you've heard this before. Primetime special airing simultaneously on 4 networks. 7 o'clock, May the 29th, which is Tuesdays today, 26th. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Players will report to camp in line with communications with their respective clubs and medical staff heading into June 7. Traveling for pre-tournament send-off matches against Uzbekistan in Edmonton and Ireland in Montreal. Both matches, once again, national television. Training camp roster, Crépeau, Goodman, St. Clair. If I was Jesse Marsh after what happened with Maxime Crépeau, I'd sit Maxime Crépeau for a bit just to let him catch his breath. And Dane St. Clair, after what happened to him this past weekend, Basong, Alfonso Davies, Alistair Johnson, Richie Larea, who just fell down again, and Nico Segur, your fullbacks. Center backs, Moise Bombito, Derek Cornelius, Luc Defougerol. Defougerol is injured, and this is going to be an interesting thing to navigate for Jesse Marsh. Sorry. Defougerol was injured in his last match. And there may be a shortage of healthy center backs going into the World Cup. Defougerol's health currently in question. Jones, Knight, LaBelle, Priso, Joel Waterman, 5 midfielders, Chouanier, Eustachio, Kone, Osorio, Nathan Saliba, your wingers. Ali Ahmed, Tejan Buchanan, Marcelo Flores, Liam Miller, Jaden Nelson, and Jacob Schaffelberg, who was nursing an injury and its recovery at the tail end of the MLS season. Forwards, Jonathan and Promise David, Daniel Jebison, Kyle Aaron, Tony Olosei, and Jason Russell Rowe. So that's your camp. So that is your camp of 32. And they have 6 training players. Nathaniel Abraham, Zane Bruno, Tim 48, Mael Henry, Dylan Judelson, and Elijah Roach. So they brought in 35. So they brought in 35 getting ready for their camp, to Abby's question from earlier on and Ricky's clarification. So there's your rundown of U.S. and Canada heading into today. Canada has their announcement primetime Friday night. USA has their announcement 3 o'clock this afternoon with the Brooklyn Bridge and the Statue of Liberty behind them from the roof of Pier 17. Only thing missing is somebody who knows Francis Scott Key and a brass section. But I wouldn't put it past them to be on the ground floor outside the building because you probably couldn't fit them all on top of the roof. All right, MLS, we got to get into that. Kaylor Hodges coming up at the bottom of the hour. The news yesterday, of course, that broke during SOT, was that Phil Neville and Portland parted ways. And Phil Neville, once again, being the stand-up guy that he is, he said it didn't meet expectations. I get it. Thank the fans, thank the front office, thank the players. Stand-up guy. Here was how it was presented from KPTV in Portland about Phil Neville and the Portland Timbers separating and parting ways here at the World Cup break in 2026.
Today, the Timbers announced that they have mutually parted ways with head coach Phil Neville. Neville took over ahead of the 2024 MLS season and finishes his tenure with a 27-31-24 record over 2.5 seasons. Fox 12's Leslie Dominique has more on what led to that decision and how fans are reacting online.
Timbers head coach Phil Neville is out after 2.5 seasons with the team. Monday, the club called the split mutual. General manager Ned Grabavoy said during the offseason, team leadership discussed areas that needed improvement, but ultimately felt the team was not making enough progress. Adding, quote, results have fallen well short of expectations. Hopes were high entering the 2026 MLS season, with the franchise backed by one of the most passionate fan bases in the league, the Timbers Army. But the season has been a struggle. The decision came just days after a 3-1 home loss to the San Jose Earthquakes. The Timbers currently hold a record of 4 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws. Good for 13th place out of 15 teams in the Western Conference. Fans flooded social media following the announcement, some saying Neville wasn't the right fit for the club, and the writing was on the wall. Others thanking him for his effort and wishing him luck. Despite the disappointing end, Neville did help guide Portland back to the playoffs in his first season with the club. And under his leadership in 2024, the Timbers also set a single-season club record with 65 goals scored. In Monday's release, Neville addressed his players. Quote, thank you for the effort, the good times, the good results, the bad results, and all the laughs we shared together. I realize we are in a results business, and the results haven't been to the expectation of this football club. The team is currently on a 3-week summer hiatus and will return to play in July. Now, leadership says that interim coaching decisions will be made while they search for a new permanent head coach. For now, reporting in Southwest Portland, Leslie Dominique, Fox 12 Oregon.
So that's the rundown of Phil Neville out the door in Portland. And it was a weekend once again where you had an ton of goals that were scored. And when you look at just the sheer numbers across the board, not just with Portland, but you look at what happened last weekend. And apparently defense is now optional. St. Louis, we're going over the finals. St. Louis shuts out Austin in their first match without Nico Estevez. Go on the road, lose to St. Louis. Cedric Teuchert, it was announced this morning, is going to be leaving the club upon the expiration of his contract at the end of next month. So Teuchert is leaving after his time in St. Louis. Word from the club, signed as a free agent in the summer of 24, 10 plus 7 and 49 appearances for City SC. Spent all of his professional career in Germany, Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2, Schalke, Nuremberg, Union Berlin, and Hannover 96. So Teuchert is probably going to go home. Sidebar, U.S. Soccer is going to be announcing their camp roster in June, I believe tomorrow. Emma Hayes will have her announcement after we go off the air. She's going to have her availability. First match with Brazil, June 6th at the Neoquímica Arena in Sao Paulo, and on June 9th at the Arena Castelao in Fortaleza. So that is part of the sidebars from this morning. It's like news happens and then something else happens. Nothing like that. So St. Louis puts 3 on the board. Austin, we'll get into the standings coming up in a bit. Minnesota RSL a 1-1 draw. Charlotte shut out New England 1-0. Toklamati with the goal. And if you haven't seen it, Jess Sharman has started doing goal cams inside the booth. They're must watch. Cincinnati and Orlando. Cincinnati, and this is why I'm telling Jesse Marsh to kind of chill a little bit with Crépeau. Cincinnati put 6 on the purple team on Saturday night. Kenji Bombadem had a brace. Evander had a brace. Dinkay and Tom Barlow. Martin Ojeda had a brace also, a PK and a goal in the 48th. But you end up with nothing happening. Ojeda scores first, which makes this even worse for Orlando and Martin Perelman. Ojeda scores first to make it 1-0. Then nothing happens until the 42nd minute. And technically, if you want to get into it, Cincinnati scores in the 42nd, 45 plus 3. So then they're up 3. Then they are up 2-1. Orlando scores in the 48th to tie it at 2. Cincinnati scores 2 in 6 minutes to make it 4-2. Denke in the 77th, Barlow at 90 plus 1. Cincinnati scores 6 on Orlando. Stats on the day. Possession really doesn't matter, but 55-45 to Cincinnati. 20 shots, 43 shots total. Cincinnati had 23 shots, 11 on target, 6 blocked. And you still scored 6 goals. 6 goals and 11 on target. 30 fouls called, 17 on Cincinnati, by the way. Just craziness. 4 unanswered after Martin Ojeda's free kick. Races for Mbombadem and Evander. After that, like I said, I legitimately give Maxime Crépeau, give him a rest. I don't know if he wants to even see a soccer ball for a couple of days. DC United Montreal, a 4-4 draw. Didn't have that one on the bingo card. You end up with DC with a 2-0 lead. Owusu scores at 45 plus 1 to make it 2-1 at the break. Ty Barabo restored the lead to 3-1. Then you end up with Owusu scoring in the 61st to make it 3-2. DC scores in the 87th to make it 4-2. Then a PK at 90 plus 4 and Hannadi Sinchuk at 90 plus 6. DC gives up 2 goals in 2 minutes north of 90. Has to settle for a point when they had the lead most of the night. Chicago over Toronto 2-1. Red Bulls beat Kansas City 2-1. Same score Nashville over NYC. Dallas and Colorado. Dallas goes on to win that one 2-1. Logan Farrington got a PK early. Then you had this goal from Paxton Aronson. Not even a minute later. You end up with this, and it was your equalizer, courtesy of our friends at Major League Soccer. Or did I not load it? Oh, I didn't load it. Oh, crap. All right, so hang on. Let me load it, and then we'll play it. So Logan Farrington, a PK. You'll recognize a familiar voice. Christian Miles and KCD on the call here to make it 1-1.
And FC Dallas take the lead on the road.
A lot of times you don't see the player foul take it up, but he steps up and is able to drive it into the far post. A lot of power past Hansen for the go-ahead goal.
Took it with confidence. Shock start. And everyone at Dick's Sporting Goods Park absolutely stunned. Looking for the response. Manungu in space. Manungu squares. Fired right back. What a response. Paxton Aronson from 0 to hero restores parity in seconds.
But watch that early pass from Frederick. Plays in the one touch. Aggressive first touch from George Georgie Manungu in a very unselfish play. As he draws in, the goalkeeper comes across to the near post near wall. That's when he releases the ball. Willing runners above the ball is what Paxton Aronson is, and he is rewarded with a wonderful ball and an incredible finish.
I'll give you an account to start following on social media. And it is someone who has been doing some, for lack of a better word, crackerjack work. And it's a really cool analysis breakdown of plays and things like that. And it's the Edward Stratman account. Based in Australia, guy gets into tactics and he does some really good deep dives. He's been kind of keeping an eye on Atlanta. And he made a point with the Paxton Aronson goal. He broke it down in about 30 seconds. And it was great pursuit as Colorado rushed the net, basically. The first pass out to Manungu down the right-hand side for the Paxton Aronson goal. Great first touch, center circle. And then Manungu goes down the right-hand side with his speed, gets the cutback. And you see a lot of the black front jerseys for Colorado. First touch out to Manungu after through center circle, and Manungu's off and running. And there are 4 Colorado players that are in pursuit down the middle channel. They know what Manungu wants to do. They're going to be there for it. So you had 4 opportunities for Georgie Manungu on a cutback cross. Ends up with Paxton Aronson. And so literally it was like third and fourth guys that were making it. So literally it's one pass, center circle, one quick touch, push forward, and Manungu's off to the races. So you literally in 7 seconds go from just outside your own 18 to scoring a goal. Edward Stratman, 2 ends at the end. So Edward has done some really cool stuff, and so kind of keep an eye on his account because he'll do some really good analysis and breakdown. He'll tell you in the comments what to look for. He doesn't like draw it up, but he'll tell you what to look for in his analysis, and he was doing some really cool analysis of what Atlanta United was doing against Columbus when it came to the press. Did a really good work with this equalizer in the Colorado match after the Logan Farrington PK. So Edward Stratman, keep an eye on Edward, and it's really good stuff. So here, let me spell it out. And it's obviously, since it's Twitter, it's smashed together. And so on the 280 character app, go to Edward Stratman's account. He does a really good breakdown of a lot of different things. So Edward Stratman kind of gave us the hint about that goal in the 2-1 loss, the eventual 2-1 loss. But it was something to kind of keep an eye on initially when it came to what you're looking at in Major League Soccer this past weekend, what you're seeing from Colorado. Also on the board, and I'm building to Sunday. I'm doing this in chronological order. So after the 2-1 loss to Dallas at home, we mentioned what happened with San Jose and Portland. San Jose 3-1 winners there. Vancouver 4-2 at San Diego. San Diego FC. So Vancouver puts 4 on San Diego. Mikey Veras publicly expressed a desire for the league to take a look at what he has seen happen to his club over the last 2 months, really. And I want to get the quote in lieu of playing the soundbite. I'm trying to grab the quote because I was trying to load so many things in this morning. And I want to see if, okay, so here's the recap. And Brian White scored twice in 15 minutes. 2-0 at the break. David Vasquez scores, and then Vancouver scored twice more. Bruno Caicedo, Ralph Priso. Brian Zomble scores with the assist from the Ice Cream Man at 90+1 to make it 4-2. So let's see. I'm trying to, okay. So it's in his initial statement where he goes, referee makes 2 yellow cards in 25 minutes on a player who had 2 fouls. And I think the league has to take a serious look at what's happening with our team and across the league, because you have multiple teams on 5 red cards, 15 games through a season. And we played 230 or 240 minutes with a player down in a lot of situations that don't look clear and obvious that you should be playing a man down. We need to do something about that, because here we're trying to build football in this country. We want to play football, and to play football, of course, we need to make sure that there's player safety involved. So if there's clear red cards, like, we have to take care of that, but we also need to play as much 11v11 as possible. When you look around the world, the situation is not happening, and we need to take a close look at that, because it's just really unfortunate that not only us, but I think there's some other teams in the league that could be a little bit frustrated with how that's going. So Mikey Veras calling for a bit of self-analysis on the league with the cards and such. So not necessarily a surprise, considering the run of form that San Diego had, where they had match upon match upon match. It seemed, I think it was like 5 in a row, it seemed like, where you had a red card on San Diego FC. And so Mikey Veras is, now that you're at the break, hey, y'all, can you look at this? So we'll see if that falls on the proverbial deaf ear or not. LA and Houston, LAG in a 1-1 draw there. We talked about Columbus and Atlanta all day yesterday. And then you've got Miami and Philadelphia. If I ran highlights of Miami and Philadelphia, it would take all damn day. And I don't know, frankly, how Major League Soccer cut down the highlight package to 10.5 minutes. I really don't. Milanowski scored in the 4th, scored from the spot in the 10th, 2-0. Berterame scores 3 minutes later. Damiani scores on the 20th. Luis Suarez scores on the 29th. Berterame in the 42nd. Luis Suarez in the 44th. Milanowski, another PK at 45 plus 8. 4-4 at the half. Stupid. Luis Suarez scores in the 81st. Messi departs because of muscle tightness. And Rodrigo de Paul scored at 90 plus 3. So Inter Miami won the first set 6-4. Just to get you into the stats quickly. Shots, 39 shots. 21 of them by Philly. Shots on target, 11-10, Messi and friends. Miami only had 2 shots blocked. Philly had 5. Passing accuracy, about normal, 73.5% for Philly. I'm checking other things here quickly. XG, 4.9 to 4.2, Messi and friends. 11 saves on the night. St. Clair with 6 of them. Dane St. Clair had 6 saves, and he gave up 4 goals. And you had Andre Blake on the other side give up 6 goals and make 5 saves. 33 fouls in the night, 9 yellow cards, 18 fouls for Messi and friends, 6 yellows. That's a bit of a high ratio. I'm just saying. It's a high ratio for anybody. Reguilon, Segovia, St. Clair for wasting time, Lujan, and Frey. 3 of the 4 on your backline starters, Dane St. Clair, Segovia, and Noah Allen, which was another late yellow. 6 yellows there. And it was a short-ish bench for Philly. You brought up Andrew Rick from Philadelphia Union 2. You brought up Kellen LeBlanc from the 2s. Finn Sundstrom you brought up from the 2s. So a lot of their firepower was not available in Chester, Pennsylvania for the matchup against Atlanta United 2. So you end up with that game, and then the late game was Seattle and LAFC, your last match of the weekend. And it was tight to the vest, no real surprise. LAFC won that one 1-0. So standings going into the World Cup break. Nashville at 33 points. Miami, 31 points. They played one more match than Nashville. Chicago, 26. New England, 25. Red Bulls at 22. Charlotte at 21. Cincinnati at 20 points, 5-5-5 across the board. NYCFC, 19 points. DC United at 18. Columbus at 16 with the win over Atlanta. They're 4-7-4. CF Montreal at 14 points. Well ahead of Orlando in goal difference. They also had the same number of wins. Toronto FC is at 14 points, also one less win. Atlanta's at 11 points at 3-9-2. Philadelphia is at 1-10-4. After the match, Jonathan Tannewald from the Philadelphia Inquirer had this question for Bradley Carnell after the 6-4 loss.
Nate Bacchedi of Fox said on the broadcast at one point that you had relayed in one of your conversations with him a seeming, thought that here's what the quote, I was just pulling it up. Bradley Carnell told us that he believes in hindsight the Union bit off more than they could chew. That was the phrase he used by going so young this year. Did that concern you at all tonight in a night when the defense, the team gives up 6 goals? Is, I think, outsiders might draw that conclusion, and I wonder if it concerns you at all.
Yeah, I think anything regarding, what's where we are currently, I'm sure there will be some information in due course and some plan of action. But yeah, when you do give up, certain pieces and a little bit of the experience and, sort of a whole age gap from, a little bit of the guys who've been around the block once or twice to guide the young ones and to nurture the young ones. I think that's kind of what Nate's getting at. But yeah, I think, we're excited for the break. I can tell you that much.
Philly's excited for the break. So that was Bradley Carnell after their 6-4 loss to Messi and friends. Western Conference. Vancouver and San Jose both at 32 points. Vancouver match in hand. Salt Lake, 26 points. And for those of you that still follow Jarrett is now attending RSL matches regularly. He'll also go to Royals, and he'll also go to, when time allows, Monarchs matches. So you can make your own conclusion that Utah Royals, since Jarrett has been out there this season, they've won 8 of 9. Draw your own conclusion. Dallas, 25 points. And so if you look at 3 through 9 in the Western Conference, you're separated by 2 wins, basically. Salt Lake at 26, Dallas at 25, LAFC at 24. Seattle behind by 1 goal in goal difference. They've only given up 11 goals, but they've only scored 17. More with Nico on Thursday about this. Houston's at 22 points, 1 win ahead of Minnesota. LAG's at 20 points, 5-5-5 across the board. San Diego, 4-6-5, 1-3-2 on the road, 3-3-3 in the fortress that is the Murph Dragon this season. Colorado and St. Louis at 16 points. Colorado has played 1 more match. They have 1 more win. Portland at 14 points in 14 matches. Austin has played 15 matches. They have 14 points. Kansas City, with recent run of form, they're now up to 11 points in 14 matches, and that is how things are in Major League Soccer at the break. Kaylor Hodges, the USL show, set to join us in about 6 minutes to break down everything in USL Championship. A couple of other things across the board just to kind of get into, unless Kaylor's going to join us right now, and we can discuss that kind of stuff on the backside. So just some headlines. Antonio Rudiger, 1-year extension at Real Madrid, and that's going to keep him at the club until the summer of 27. Also, further talks between Andoni Iraola and Milan, one of the leading targets to replace Max Allegri. West Ham have shown interest in Middlesbrough's head of football, Kieran Scott. Leadership set for a restructuring, interesting word to use, after being relegated to the Premier League. and we'll get into all of the other stories on the flip side. So it's been an interesting time in Spokane. And when you have a sentence that starts like that, it's intriguing. So we bring in our boy. He's got the Lexington jersey on. There you go. Oh, welcome aboard. Congratulations on surviving the school year, sir.
Thank you. You know, it's little by little, bit by bit. You just got to make it, and we start again in July. The grind starts again.
Man, but I know that you're going to hopefully be spending a boatload of time traveling the planet and covering this soccer thing that we talk about every once in a while. It is rare for me to actually have a segment where I start. It's been a wild time in Spokane. I don't think that's the first time I think in the history of the show in 10 years that I've started a sentence that way.
I would love to know how many times you've mentioned the city of Spokane in the history of the show.
Well, but I mean, it's been with you specifically and the growth of both the USL, the Super League, and with League One, and with obviously with all of our joint coverage here in the Southeast of what the Southeastern clubs would do when they go to Spokane. I mean, there's and it's a must-read article, and you might have to subscribe to a newsletter or something, but there was a great deep dive into what went wrong and what is still, I think, going wrong with Spokane. Sadly, the Zephyr ceased operations. They missed out on the postseason by goal difference. And so then they announced the following Monday that they were ceasing operations. And this seems to be just like the end of a lot of issues on the women's side that are still going on with Spokane as an ownership group. Am I off?
Yeah. So for people who maybe haven't kept up, Spokane Zephyr are shutting doors, and they're saying for this season, they're not using the word ceasing or like they use the word ceasing operations, but they're being vague about it. This comes on Monday, and we start getting the loose news about this, and I have to find his name again because I want to give him credit. It was CJ Qureshi.
Yeah,
kind of first started breaking the news over on Blue Sky, and for people who have been kind of in the space, this isn't exactly shocking. Because last year we kind of heard the conversation happening after their first season. There was just kind of loose conversations like, hey, the Zephyr may not come back, which makes sense when we talk about just how far away they are from everybody else. And we talked about this on the USL show last week. And we talked about how hard it is to be a Pacific Northwest team. I mean, look at the Seattle Mariners. It is brutal, the schedule they have to go. Look at soccer up in MLS. If it wasn't for Vancouver Whitecaps, which is a whole other conversation, all Seattle would have is Portland. Other than that, they are completely alone. Now you're looking at the Super League where it's just the Zephyr. And do you say, hey, hold out for AC Boise? They're coming in a year, maybe a two. Even with a real deal team like you have in League One with AC Boise, do you trust USL timelines when we say we swear we started this year? I never do. So this is something that I think a lot of people in the space have been kind of prepared for. But when you start getting the USLPA announcements like they do, where hey, the ownership walks in on Monday after they were eliminated from the playoffs via goal differential, like you mentioned, and they have a 3-minute meeting where they're basically just like, well, Spokane's not a D1 league or a D1 city, and the financials aren't right. See ya. And they go and have a catered breakfast with the men's team. It doesn't feel good at all.
Article that I have linked below our conversation is your requested required reading. Thomas Klaus and Megan Howard from the Spokesman Review up in Spokane. Owners indicated in a locker room meeting at 9 o'clock on Monday after the season was over, they read from a piece of paper, Ryan and Katie Harnicho, and announced that the end of the Zephyr Women's Soccer Club. Then they caught up with some players. Owners indicated that Spokane could not support a top-level professional women's team, suggested they might try later with a lower-level squad. And then further down in the article, lagged in attendance this season while the owners, which included Spokane developer Jordan Tampion, continually missed financial deadlines that have prompted Spokane Public Facilities District to consider ending its 10-year contract with them. What remains unspoken is the future of Velocity, who are at 5-1-2 and off to a good start in League One, third place in the standings. No additional comments were made at the time. And then they consulted with Bobby Brett, who owns the Spokane Indians, about how you're trying to make a living in all of this. And One Spokane Stadium does not have the same number of advertisements Britt mentioned as those hung in the other stadia where the minor league Chiefs play, the hockey team, and the baseball team where they play. And Zephyr averaged about 2,000 ticket sales per match inaugural season. They also gave away about 500. 2,500 tickets sold or given out, an average of 1,550 attended matches that year. So Zephyr averaged 993 fans at their matches, despite selling an average of 1,200 tickets, team giving away another 374. Stadium seats about 5,000. So stadium opens in September 23. $39 million outdoor stadium built by Spokane Public Schools as, a joint thing where we see in cities where high school can use, and it's used for other folks. And the CEO of the private finance district said they agreed to pay $4 million in upgrades to locker rooms and other amenities required to host two professional soccer teams. In return, the company formed by the Harnichos in Tampion, Aquis Sports, agreed to reimburse into payments. One of those was due last March, and another $2 million is due in November 27. Aquis missed the deadline last year. And then in the summer, PFD Board of Directors set to vote to end the contract, and then all of a sudden they come up with the money. As of late last week, Aquis had not paid a bill of $87,000 that was due on April 1st. So you have owners that owe $87,000, and then they negotiated payments of $370,000, and that's why with all of this money that is being talked about, that's why I have the link down here for the main article. So it just seems, and I think the first thing to talk about is legitimately, as you said, it is Spokane in the Super League. It is Spokane, and the next closest team is Dallas.
Yeah.
Spokane, Dallas. That's not close.
Nope. Yeah, and I think as it mentions in there, the Spokane Velocity side of this, and this is not me trying to overlook what's happening with the Zephyr. However, what's happened with the Zephyr has happened, right?
Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of people's next logical thing is, well, is the Velocity screwed? In which I would say that there are a lot of things that were going against the Zephyr. The closest team being Dallas. Now in League One, you have more West Coast teams. You have allegedly Eugene on the way. They say that they're on the way, kinda. You also have AC Boise, which is really close by, relatively speaking, anyway.
Yeah.
So, on addition to that, in the U.S., just men's soccer gets more fans in the stands than women's soccer. Is it fair? No. If you actually watch the Zephyr play, I think they play more attractive football than the Velocity, but a lot of people aren't willing to give it a chance for whatever reason. So when you put all those factors together, the Velocity have a better foothold there that can keep them sustainable for another year, another 2 years.
Right.
Now, when you mention all the other money aspects of this is not me trying to minimize, but because not many teams are missing deadlines like this. However, it's not the most equitable thing to do is be a lower league soccer team.
Right. Yeah.
So the velocity side of this feels a lot more safe to me.
Yeah.
For the Zephyr, the thing with the players, and the USLPA has done a great job of advocating for their players. And you're about to see a lot of really good players hit the market.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of new teams coming in, which does lead to a question of the professional soccer standards, which are always concrete and never move for anybody, right? But they're supposed to have a certain amount of teams by year 4. They're supposed to have a certain amount of teams within 3 different time zones. AC Boise would fulfill that, but would they have enough teams now? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So there's a conversation of D1 status. And it really sucks that we're having this conversation when this upcoming Saturday, we're having the final, which is going to be against the 2 best teams this year. And I know a lot of people say, well, look at Sporting Jacks, but I beg you to watch the Carolina Ascent, especially what they've done in the second half in the spring split.
Right.
If this is a really good matchup that should be celebrated, that should be talked about, that should have been the headlining conversation. But once again, the USL has another team folding that steals every single headline when there's good stuff going on. Just like last year with, hey, let's talk about the USL final. Oh, also, by the way, don't forget the USL PA and USL CBA is running up.
Yes. And so I do want to talk about the final because I know that is why that you're pardon the pun, sporting the Lexington jersey. And this is just me being naive. And so with the time that you and everyone there at the USL show get to cover things, you saw the wording by the PA about, taking care of players and such. Where is the Gainbridge Super League players, when it comes to the women's side of USL activity, where do they fall into the USLPA? Are they rolled into the USLPA as a group? Are they a separate thing? Because you see the wording from the USLPA, but then it's like I'm trying to figure out where the USLPA is when it comes to the Super League players and the relationship that the women's side has with the PA. Is it 2 separate things? Is it rolled in underneath? What's the relationship?
So the US, by my understanding, now this is where legalese is not my thing. I'm a band director, not a lawyer. So my understanding is that the USL PA and the USL Super League have a partnership. They work together.
Right.
However, there is no CBA for the Super League. There is no binding agreement between league, players association, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like the championship in League One where they're having to deal with CBA stuff. So they don't have that kind of agreement. However, they are a part of the PA, but they don't have the same legal protections from the PA.
Yeah, and that was my question, because it seemed like the PA was supporting the Super League players, but it was just verbal, if that makes any sense. That was the presentation that I got. The impression I got from the presentation from the USLPA, it's like, we're with you, even though and you're somewhat confirming my thought, is that they're not rolled over underneath the USLPA. That was my main question.
Correct.
So with this, now you've got a championship game, and Lexington and Carolina Ascent, and we are efforting input from both of those clubs, because, as you said, it is a championship game that we do have to get to talk about. So this weekend in Lexington, are you going, by the way?
No, just because I have to lead church music the very next day. And so because the game ended up being at 7 p.m. Eastern, there was no way I can make it back. I'm super bummed out. I'm so bummed out because I was really excited to see it in person, but there's just no way I could change the schedule, obviously.
So then for those of us who are going to be like you and watching from afar, what have the seasons been like for Ascent and for Lexington to get to the last game of the year in the Super League?
Lexington, as they do, horse money don't quit. They went and bought every good player ever. And so that's kind of what they did, but it wasn't without issues. They had little bumps in the road. They had moments where things kind of didn't look solid at times, especially after they had their coaching changes.
Right.
When they had Hemi move on to the men's side,
right,
they had a little stumble. When then they had Kosuke Kimura, he took over even though he was the assistant coach, they had a little bit of a wobble. And by wobble, I mean they were just drawing games and not winning them, you know, that stuff.
Yes.
And then you looked at the other side where they had Sporting Jags, who are really still in headlines because they could not stop scoring goals. But I don't want to call them a paper tiger, if that makes sense, because they were a really, really good team. But they were really beating up on bad teams. They had not beaten a playoff team, which is a little nitpicky because there's only 4 teams that make the playoffs. But they had not beaten a playoff team, I think, since February.
Wow.
And so they had really eaten up on the minnows of the league. And when they started playing these better teams, they weren't picking up results. Then you look at the Carolina Ascent, and it's really easy for me to say Tyler Lucy's really good at soccer. That's like the really easy way to go about this. But there was a real change in how this team was playing after her inclusion. You had Mackenzie George up top, who Mackenzie George is a world-class winger who's being asked to play as a striker. And at first it wasn't working. Then you got Tyler Lucy coming in, playing both wings. Riley Mattingly Parker finally really etching away for her into this team, locking down the other wing, whichever side they want to have them on. Most recently, it's been left wing Lucy, right wing Riley. So that just works. But it's allowed to play a little bit more free, and it's allowed other players to, like Aguilera, to be a little bit more of that deeper lying passer who can make things happen. On top of that, their defense has been awesome. They also brought in from Brooklyn, who the people of Georgia know real well, Sydney Martinez comes in. She has been lights out superstar. She's been amazing. If you watch her with Tormenta, you already knew that. So this has been a team that since the spring split started, has been the second best team in the league. Arguably the best team in the league. I think if you really watch these matches, it's not as flashy as what you're getting from Lexington, but it's just as effective. So these are 2 of the best teams going at it. These are 2 teams that are really making well with their defense. They are solid defensively. They are going to score goals. Lexington more goals than Carolina, but Carolina doesn't have to rely on their back line or rely on their attack as much as. So like they are solid, they are rock solid, and they're one of the few teams that have really given Lexington trouble this year. They have gone 1-1-1 with Lexington this year, every single match being a 1-goal affair, if not a draw outright. This is a really good matchup. And if I'm Lexington, I'm really bummed out that I'm not playing Sporting Jags, because Sporting Jags is going to try to make it a track meet. They have a fantastic team, but they are going to try to make it a track meet, which plays right into Lexington's hands. When you have Addie McCain, who's going to sit a little bit deeper, and you have Mackenzie Weiner, who's going to be putting in crosses like crazy, looking for Catherine Berry, where she can finish with her head, she can finish with her feet, she can do whatever you want her to. When you're in a track meet and you can counterattack, that's what you want to do to beat Sporting Jags. Carolina, they got their goal early, and they just sat back and defended. There was no counterattacking going on, which I think plays right into Carolina's favor if they can do the same thing against Lexington. It's a tall task, but you absolutely can.
What's your gut tell you?
I really don't know. Usually I have a lean. Last year, I was pretty certain it was going to be the Sun after the Ascent got eliminated. When you're looking at a team that has not lost or they have not dropped any points in the last, I think it's 7 matches, Carolina, they're as hot as you can be. They're defensively solid. They can score a goal. However, the firepower from Lexington is no joke. This one, I really have no lean. I really don't. Something is telling me I think my gut is slightly telling me Carolina, but this is also a Lexington team that could come out and win this match 3-0. And it's like, well, yeah, do you see who they have on the team? Do you see how well they're coached? Like, obviously. But my gut is telling me slightly Carolina, but I don't love it.
I figured that I would ask, and I figured it was going to be one of those. I think honestly, it's going to be longer than 90 minutes.
I do too. I think that's the only thing I can really feel confident about. I mean, conversation like we had last year with Pittsburgh and Tulsa, where I was like, basically like, it's going to go to penalties. And at that point, take your pick. Like, do you really think you know how penalty shootouts go? This one kind of has that same feeling for me.
There's a matchup this weekend in USL Championship that under normal circumstances is like massive marquee. Oh my God, can't miss it under no circumstance. It's appointment television viewing or appointment device viewing.
Yep.
And this year, both teams have played 10 matches. One of them is unbeaten, and it's not Lou City.
I think I said preseason that Tampa Bay might be the best team in the league. I think when we talked preseason or right after preseason, I was like, this Tampa Bay team is no joke. Like there is not a single weak link on this team. If anything, it's the right back side, and you're looking at Akoff, who's one of the best right backs in the league, and that's the quote unquote weak link because that's just not fair. There's not enough good things you can say about this Dom Casciato led side. There is just no holes. There's nothing. They are well coached, well trained, talent on top. Then you look at Lou City, and I think that they're still third. They're still in third place. Okay, let's not act like it is the world's falling. However, to Lou City fans, it is. Yeah. But the world's not. It is okay. This is not a bad Miami team. Okay. Now I understand they have 2 games more than everybody else, but they're still sitting, fourth? They are a good team with good talent on the squad. I know everybody saw how Jurgen Locadia worked out at FC Cincinnati, but also, did you watch those FC Cincinnati teams? That's not fair on him. That's not fair to compare him to. This is still a good player. This is still a good team. They have really, really good players. It feels like a match where Lou City is still going to show up. They did it against Union Omaha. They ended up getting a 5-1 win over Union Omaha. I would say, well, you should watch Union Omaha. Watch them. They're not your average League One team. Also, League One teams have been taking it to championship teams this year in the Prinks Cup. Again, never seen a Prinks tire, but it's fine. Yeah. But they have been taking it to championship teams. Lou City dispatched them 5-1. Granted, red card in there, but I still think they were up 3-1 despite that. This is a team that I feel like is still going to get up for this match. They're still going to have good vibes going in. They're going to trust what they do. They're going to trust Kyle Adams and not have an own goal. They're going to trust Hugo Faru to make a couple of saves like he can. And they scored goals. They got 3 goals. They know they can score. It's just, how is the defending going to be this year? Usually in years past, Lou City has been just so strong defensively that all they had to do was hold out for a 1-0 win that eventually becomes 2-3-0 because other teams start going for points. This year, they can't rely on the defense in the same way. how do you fix it? I don't know. I'm not a coach, but it's just going to be one of those situations where I still think it's in there, and I still think this is a marquee matchup that you should watch, because I don't see Tampa Bay taking them to the sword like the Miami FC did.
Strange thing is, Lou City's lost 3 in a row.
Yes, they have.
And you mentioned the loss to the Miami FC, which was the 4-3 thriller. And then before that, they lose to Pittsburgh 2-0. And then you lose, as I said here, and it's like not agreeing with me. Detroit City beats them 2-1. So
in between that is a 5-1 win against Union Omaha.
Yeah.
So I do think that bears noting.
Yes. So I'm gonna show you the juice boxes.
Yep.
In this matchup, and it's going to go Lou City, draw, Tampa. I'm going to show you these numbers. That's the numbers right now in the juice boxes for this match.
Okay.
Lou City is favored at a -116. Tampa Bay is a +260 underdog in this match.
So when it comes to juice box odds, home field advantage is weighted really heavily when it comes to USL Championship juice box odds.
Yeah.
I think that Lynn Family Stadium has enough pull. I think that they can pull a good crowd in this. They know it's Tampa Bay. People know that. I think that's a good enough home field advantage.
Okay.
I would lean draw here.
Yeah.
A draw here. I don't think that Lou City is going to win this game. Wouldn't shock me if they did.
Yeah.
But also with the crowd that is expected to be there, assuming it's not still raining, because it can't stop reason.
Really?
It's I would say that a draw is your most likely outcome here.
Yeah, I saw the +260 and +240, and I'm like, I'm jumping on that ish like yesterday.
Yes.
I'm absolutely jumping on that. Kaylor Hodges at the USL show, and looking at the rest of the numbers in the conference standings, it's Charleston 4-4-1, 13 points. They're a part of that gaggle that's down there at 6, 7, and 8. I figure that they're going to get, the engine's going to turn over, and literally you're only 4 points out of second place right now anyway.
Yeah.
So that's early on. Rhode Island is, Rhode Island's right there on the edge. What's going on with your Birmingham Legion?
What can I say that won't get my media pass revoked? They put up one of the most pathetic performances I've seen in a long time.
Wow.
I'm sure they know that, and that's not me saying anything bad, but I mean, I say bad. I mean, you lose 2-0 to one of the worst teams in the league in Monterey Bay. Granted, Monterey Bay looked much, much, much better. They have really turned a corner ever since their new coaching hire. I know they blew a 3-1 lead to AC Boise. First off, AC Boise is really good. Mm-hmm. Also, if you watch that match, they had no confidence. As soon as the second goal went in, you could tell the world was imploding on Monterey Bay. Mm-hmm. They get home, and they really take it to Legion. This is a Legion team that leads the league in passing percentage. They want to possess the ball. They are not necessarily possess the ball. They're more of a counterattacking team, but they are okay with passing it. They're okay with just kind of really taking their high percentage passes and making a big deal of it. Yeah. The issue is they're a team that wants to build out of the back that can't work through a press. They were getting pressed up the pitch, and they couldn't work through it, which is not ideal if you're a team that wants to work through the press. That's just not a good recipe. I think a lot of that comes down to Samuel Shoshua's getting healthy. He's been out for a while. Sam Mickelhatton's been out for a couple matches. Kadeem Cole just doesn't really seem to have that bit about him to work through a defense. Seth Antwi can. He's a good player. I think he's arguably the best player on the team right now, but he just doesn't do anything that looks sexy, basically. He can do that, but also he needs to be more defensive side of the pivot.
Yeah.
The defensive midfield is just not doing their job right now. The right back side has been not good. I think Leo Duru needs to start. I think that'll fix a lot of problems over there. I think there are reinforcements on the way, and I do think that Legion fans should stay the course, but it's hard for them to trust that when you get one of the worst performances I've seen in a long time, and I watched last year's Legion team.
Yeah. How difficult is it to stay the course and be patient in Jacksonville, where you mentioned how things are on the Super League side? You're out of the blocks. You haven't won any in your first 9, and you've only got the 1 point.
I don't know. Go watch the Armada.
Wow.
It's bad.
Okay.
It's really bad. There are good players on this team.
Mm-hmm.
There are good pieces. This is kind of like the Miami conversations we would have, the Monterey Bay conversations we would have. There are good players, but there's not enough good players to make up for it.
Right.
This is a team that has clearly lost a lot of confidence. Every single match you watch, it feels like they are on the brink of getting a red card because they're just so freaking frustrated, and they're putting in stupid challenges. They're giving away cheap possession. The games where they are in it and they are really being competitive, they have one stupid moment that leads to a goal, and they never get their head back. This just feels like they need to get one win and maybe they'll be okay. But I don't know where that win's coming from at this point. I think you're going to have a moment like a Legion versus Monterey Bay, where a team has their worst match of the year, maybe several years, and you come out and play with your hair on fire, and maybe that gives them the confidence. But I really don't know. I don't know what the next step is, because you can't reinvest everything into a new squad already. They're, like I said, they're good players. What do you do? I don't know.
You look at League One, and it seems like there's 3 groups. You've got, obviously, the folks at the top, Union Omaha, Velocity, One Knox, Naples. I mean, if you want to include Naples in that group. But I think you can sit there and go Union Omaha, Velocity, and One Knox. That's your lead group. Then the Peloton starts. Naples, Fort Wayne out of the blocks. I love that Fort Wayne is as competitive as they are out of the block. 5th right now, 4 wins in their first 9. Charlotte's caught fire recently after they shook off Open Cup. Boise, you mentioned what Boise's been doing. They've kind of they kind of tripped lately. Alta right now would be in the last playoff spot. You got P-Hop, Richmond, Ford Madison, and then you've got that group number 3 with everybody at 7 points. Everybody's got 2 wins regardless of no matter how many matches they played. And there are some of the newer faces there, Sarasota and the Cosmos, don't get me wrong, but you've got 6 teams basically within 2 points of each other, and Eamon Zayed still looking for his first win down there in Corpus Christi.
Man, the draw that they got against One Knox was just heartbreaking. I mean, you parry an Olympico into your top corner to draw a game in the 90-something minute. I mean, that one was just heartbreaking. If I'm looking at this, I would not put Naples up there right now. I know just last time I came on, I was like, I was wrong about Naples. Maybe I was right about Naples. Okay. It's really just kind of unraveled. They get a win against a 1-0 win against Westchester, which this is a much better Westchester team than last year, but the bar was through the center of the earth.
Yeah.
It can't get much worse than what it was.
Right.
I still don't trust Naples. Fort Wayne, I would put in that top 4. I know that's not where they are right now, but I would definitely put Fort Wayne there, especially ever since the new stadium is open. They've really turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
AC Boise, they take a loss against Fort Wayne. Again, that's a good team. I don't hate it. 1-0 loss to Charlotte. Again, it is what it is. I don't hate it. If I'm looking down here below the playoff line,
got it.
I am looking here. Who is going to be the team that steps up? Portland Hearts of Pine, you trust their top-end talent. They need to figure out their defensive midfield. It's not working. It was working for a second, but it's just something's not clicking, leaving their back line exposed. The Richmond Kickers, don't look now. They're turning it around. They are absolutely turning it around. This attack is clicking right now. Ford Madison had their moment in the sun, but I just don't see the quality there. Chattanooga Red Wolves had their moment last year, but ever since they moved away from the 5 back last year, it hasn't worked in the 4 back.
Right.
And Scott McKenzie has just kind of been flipping back and forth, hoping something clicks. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening with this team. I love Scott McKenzie. I think he's an amazing coach, but I think running with a low pay role like they do has its limitations, and you're seeing it.
Yep.
Westchester, they're better than they were. I know you see 4 losses in a row, but 3 straight 1-0 losses shows me that their back line is getting better and their attack is going to be there. Right now, they're having to choose to attack or defend. I think being defensive in this league is not the worst thing in the world. I think they could work their way up to being competitive, but not a playoff spot. Greenville, I don't know. I look at this team, and them and Sarasota are my confusion teams of why aren't they good?
Yeah.
Why aren't they good? And we said at the beginning of the year, you and I talked about it. Me and Alex Ashton talked about it. This is the most competitive League One we have ever seen. And it's a really, really good league. And I think that Greenville and Sarasota are victims of that, of being good teams, but not good enough at any particular thing to get them over the hump. It's not that they have a stellar back line or a stellar attack that gets them over the hump. They're just overall good. But, man, those 2 teams, I can't figure out what is going on to not propel them forward, because you look at the roster, you look at the coaching, everything looks like it's going right, but nothing ever gets the final result. And it's really frustrating to watch them because I think they're good teams.
You know what's really frustrating for me? Trying to click on the Greenville Triumph website and the banner of single match tickets for June on sale now, and not finding the X out to where I can actually tour the website and see how the stadium construction is going.
I think their first match is June 3rd.
Right.
I believe.
Where's my click through where I can X out of this banner and so I can actually navigate the website?
You just got to click fast. That's all I got to tell you, because I just got through, but it's by absolute, I am speed. That's kind of the whole thing, Lightning McQueen.
Okay.
But yeah,
it ain't working for me.
I'm trying to figure out a way to get up there for the opening match. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it, but I'm trying to get to the opening match of the new stadium. I really want to make it up there, but we'll see.
All right. What else do we need to know?
Just watch the Super League final. It's going to be really good soccer. I know there's going to be a lot of people who have not watched the Super League because they don't have Peacock, but get your 1 week subscription that you don't have to pay for. Just do it, log in, cancel the card, but whatever you have to do, watch the final. It's going to be really good. USL show tonight. We go live once again, 9 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. And just a lot of hopefully get a little bit of I do know that on July 3rd, we are getting definitely Phil and John together at an undisclosed location to announce where Phil is living now, which is just really funny, but they're going to be getting together. We're trying to figure out a way to get together for a July 3rd celebration in an undisclosed location. But no matter what, John and Phil will be there. So check that out in about a month.
Yes, at Kaylor Hodges at the USL show. Congratulations on making it through the school year.
Thank you.
And just get your breath, because we'll be knocking on your door as we always do. And we can actually do things live instead of on tape for at least a month or two anyway.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anything happens, break glass. If break glass happens, I have nothing to do. So please just break the glass.
Well, and if there's something to break glass about, you know that you can always come in the other way. So it's like I break glass and I'm barging in. We'll see you soon, my friend. I always appreciate this look at everything going on in the USL.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, Kaylor Hodges. He's going to go get brunch or something. So that is that is the latest from USL. Super League is this weekend. Championship. We are efforting with Carolina and with Lexington to get presence on the morning shows, and we can find out what is going on there. Also on the board, I'm trying to see if there is anything going on. Pep Pep Linders, Colo Torre, Lorenzo Buenaventura, Manel Estiarte, Xabi Mancisidor, and they are all leaving Manchester City. Enzo Maresca is going to be bringing in his own backdoor staff. Everton are exploring a move for Aaron Wan-Bissaka following West Ham's relegation, likely to cost about £8 to £10 million. That's from Alex Crook. We mentioned Antonio Rudiger. Sandy Baltimore signed a contract extension at Chelsea until the summer of 2030. Also, further talks with Iraola and Milan are going on today. Once again, one of the leading targets to replace Max Allegri. Brighton confirmed Kaoru Mitoma has undergone successful surgery on his hamstring injury. Fabian Hertzler says good news, the procedure was successful. Kaoru has now begun the early stages of his rehabilitation program. So that is the latest from overseas. Before we go, once again, tomorrow we're going to talk stuff. That's the official term. We are getting all of our World Cup preps ready and all of that. So should be Dylan Butler tomorrow. And like I said, we'll walk through all the other stuff that's going on in and around the planet. I wanted to, before we get out of here today, in addition to gossip, rumor, innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, get into our John Texter update, or John Texter adjacent update, for lack of a better term. It is today, what to watch, and it's brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And that link is important. Helps them, helps us, helps you. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis, you get BN Sports, you get all the BNs, which means you get French League, Turkish League, Polish League, Sudamericana, Libertadores, 2 episodes of the Soccer Metrics Copa Libertadores show coming up today because of action tonight. You get all of that. You get African Champions League, Mamelodi Sundowns. You get to see that matchup against ASFAR FC. You got to see that one over the weekend. You get all of that, all of the Champions League material, all the CAF qualifiers, all the things, all of that at all the BNs. You get ties to Tigo Sports. You get ties to CATV. You get TSA, which means you get the Copa de Argentina and all of their great coverage that they give you. Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get all of the first and second divisions of a lot more nations that you might not have had. All of that at Fanatis. TVV out of Venezuela if you want to add it, but you can also get that from your cable system. You get CDO out of Chile. And trust me, it's all there in one place. fntz.co/soccer down here. Ligue 1, Saint-Etienne and Nice is at 2:45. Libertadores doubleheader on BN as well tonight. Liga de Quito always ready. Universitario and Deportes Tolima. BN in Espanol simulcasting. Promotion relegation playoff on the Plus. Gruther Fürth and Rot-Weiss Essen is at 2:30. Quarterfinals in U15 and U16 on the MLS Next Cup out in Utah. That is on the MLS YouTube channel and on DAZN. Spanish Liga Femenine, Barcelona and Real Madrid is at 1 o'clock. So it's a short day, but there is plenty to watch. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and I wanted to get into our John Texter adjacent before we get out of here. Also, it is, so let's see, our gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's see. I believe that Riquelme says I have 2 stars lined up to sign. Is that who? Yeah, Riquelme has claimed he has 2 unnamed international stars he'll sign to strengthen the team if he's elected to replace Florentino Perez. Madrid set to hold elections for the first time in 20 years after Riquelme's candidacy to face Perez, formally approved by the Electoral Commission on Sunday, called for a members' vote by Perez after Madrid ended a second consecutive season without winning a major trophy. And now you have renewable energy tycoon Riquelme in the first contested election since 2006. So keep an eye on that. Open the campaign headquarters on Monday across the street from the Bernabeu. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Once again, you get all of the transfer news, and Bruno Fernandes is a part of those rumors. Trending. United started talks with Fernandes over a new contract, according to Fabrizio Romano. Has a deal at Old Trafford until 27. But now, after setting a new Premier League single-season assist record at 21, club officials looking to reward him. Initial discussions believed to have taken place. United keen to fend off interest from clubs in Saudi Arabia and Europe for the 31-year-old amid a clause in his existing deal that means he's available for £57 million. Juve have made inquiries over a possible move for out-of-contract Liverpool left-back Andy Robertson, according to Gianluca Di Marzio. They're attempting to beat Spurs to the deal. Spurs have had a deal in principle agreed with him since January. On the condition of survival, nothing's been formally signed. Juve could jump into that race. Spurs sealed a verbal agreement with Marcus Senesi on a free from Bournemouth, according to Matteo Moretto. Argentina center back confirmed he'll leave with the Cherries when his contract expires at the end of the year. Linked with Spurs in recent weeks, although any interest in a move relied on their Premier League status, now he's expected to be one of De Zerbi's first signings this summer. Spurs also looking, according to the four-letter paper, at Savinho from Manchester City. 35 appearances, did not get a regular spot in the starting lineup. Remains to be seen whether Savinho would be open to a move to Spurs, as well as transfer valuation City would set. James Trafford and Carl Darlow have also been targeted for the rebuild as well. Liverpool trying to replace Mo Salah. Telegraph reporting that Jan Diomande from Leipzig, top target, £86 million release clause. Beyond him, Anthony Gordon from Newcastle and Bradley Barcola from PSG. Florian Plettenberg, Liverpool have signed the race to sign Hertha Berlin wonder kid Kenneth Eichhorn, 16-year-old midfielder linked with City and Bayern Munich. Como attempting to keep Nico Paz, according to Nicolo Schira, for another year amid his links with a return to Real Madrid. Serie A club hoping qualification for Champions League will encourage the 21-year-old to stay. Paulo Dybala, according to Schira, closing in on a contract extension with Roma. Deal until 27 on the cards, which may include an option for a further year. Ekrem Konur. United and Bayern Munich showing interest in Newcastle left-back Lewis Hall, monitored by Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Joe Gomez has appeared as a potential transfer target for AC Milan this summer. Liverpool defender viewed as an option to rebuild. Arsenal made contact with Newcastle over a potential move for Sandro Tonali, linked with a switch to North London back in January. That's from TMW. Bernardo Silva from Team Talk. Positive talks with Atletico de Madrid over a move to Spain on a 2-year deal. Proposed contract similar to Juve's offer. Arsenal are readying a, quote, aggressive move for Julian Alvarez, according to Team Talk. Strikers reps telling Atletico de Madrid that he wants to leave the club this summer, touted as a firm favorite to land the Argentina international. PSG also believed to be in the race. Football Insider, Southampton midfielder Shea Charles on the radar at Manchester United. 22-year-old could leave the club after failing to gain promotion back to the Premier League. AS, Real Madrid attacker Franco Mastantuono, who was 18, expected to leave the club on loan this summer amid struggles for game time at the Bernabeu. Tuttosport, Juve and AC Milan interested in Alexander Sorloth as Atletico de Madrid hinders the final 2 years of his deal there. We mentioned Milan chasing after Andoni Iraola. That's also at TalkSport. Football Insider, Newcastle plotting a move to sign Liam Delap this summer after missing out on his when he signed with Chelsea last year. And Liverpool have informed Allison that they want him to stay for the final year of his deal amid links with a move to Juve. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Now, also, the adjacent move when it comes to our friend, well, John Textor, but it's Textor adjacent. But it deals with Botafogo and Botafogo's future. So, from our friends at Globo, we have a bit of an update on Botafogo. The gentleman favored to buy Botafogo's SAF has prevented billion-dollar bankruptcies and saved Cirque du Soleil. If you have been following us in this entire saga, you know who this individual is. It is Gabriel de Alba. The rapprochement, this is 8 hours ago from Leticia Marquez at Globo. Rapprochement between Gabriel de Alba and João Paulo Magalhães, president of the association, began after the loan was secured by John Textor in February. Gabriel de Alba. How do I know that name? He is the GDA and GDA Luma. The group that floated the loan, one of the groups that floated the loan to John Textor back in February. GDA Luma submitted a proposal a few weeks ago and is the favorite to take control of the club. The company specializes in investments in distressed assets. We know all of this. But now GDA Luma is circling back to take over Botafogo. You go to GDA's website, you go to GDA Luma's website. We've done that before. Botafogo, the company, offered $105 million U.S. for 90% of the shares. Furthermore, the $25 million loan taken out to pay off Thiago Almada's transfer ban would be settled, meaning the total investment would be around $130 million U.S. That's the reason we brought this up this morning. Gabriel de Alba, once again, one of the names responsible for the recovery of Cirque du Soleil, but he was a partner in Catalyst Capital. This example is seen as somewhat similar to the ideas that GDA has for Botafogo. At the time, the circus did not declare bankruptcy, but it entered judicial reorganization in 2020 due to debts of around $1 billion U.S. Restructuring plan devised by de Alba, who grew the business again, led a restructuring, converted debt into equity to avoid bankruptcy. Strategy used to the judicial protection to renegotiate debts, convert old to equity stakes, and focus on new recovery strategies. Another example directly mentioned by de Alba is Colombian oil exploration and production company Frontera Energy. Chairman of the board, Gabriel de Alba. Gateway Casinos in Canada, gaming and entertainment, and then Pat McGrath Cosmetics in the U.S. And then they go to the website. Globo went to the website for GDA Lumen, did the background on de Alba. Investments North and Latin America, double degree finance econ from NYU and an MBA from Columbia. And so they pulled a lot of his bio to explain who he is. GDA sees in Botafogo the opportunity to kickstart the career in football. Company's priority is to work independently and not despite having come to Botafogo through Texter. The American is not involved in the possible future between GDA and Botafogo. However, the company admits it would work with Eagle and Aries if necessary. Back in February, you'll remember our initial conversations that we had about GDA Luma. The SAF in February took out a loan to settle debts, among them the end of the transfer ban caused by non-payment of the Almada money. Cause of several internal disagreements between the social division, the SAF, and resulted in the departure of the former CEO, Tairo Arruda. Globo had a look at the contract that described as the provision of liquidity as a last resort. GDA borrowed under $23 million U.S., the net amount after deducting transaction fees from a $25 million U.S. loan. Based on the precautionary measure prior to the reorganization, Botafogo caused a, quote, uncured event of default, which made the debt jump from 25 to 55 million U.S. From the beginning of the process, GDA became entitled to 200% of the loan amount, which will grow at a monthly interest rate of 20%. This is what John Texter signed on to when he brought GDA Luma into the fold back in February. Liquidity is the last resort. 200% of the loan amount if you default, growing at a monthly interest rate of 20%. That's like putting your paycheck in, going to get an early paycheck loan. That's like putting your car title up. That's like putting your wife's car title up and she doesn't know it. That's what happened with GDA Luma here. GDA Luma signs this deal to get the 25. They assign an exorbitant interest rate. 20%. That's payday loan stuff. And then you become entitled to 200% of the loan amount at an interest rate of 20. That's what John Texter apparently did with GDA Luma. Loan agreement signed by Texter considered abusive and, in fact, did not have the signature of Magalhães. Signature is required for the transfer of shares, one of the guarantees given by the American in the contract. Despite the strain caused by the loan, GDA became a possibility for buying Botafogo. Magalhães intensified talks to negotiate with de Alba. First contact was to discuss the loan, which took place through BTG, which was a consultant. Proposal sent on May 4 has not yet been signed. The expectation the situation will advance in the coming days following the peace agreement, as it's written by Globo, between Botafogo, Eagle, and Eagle Aries. GDA is the favorite to take over, but not the only candidate. Other funds specializing in restructuring, GDA is the only one to signal it wants to manage the club in the future. Other funds have shown interest in restructuring and then selling. Proposals need to be presented at a meeting of the Deliberative Council, date TBA. Then they get everything presented to them, then they go and deliberate. Then the General Assembly comes together. They need to convene the vote on the new investor. So GDA Luma is now once again stepping to the fore. And obviously we will effort having a conversation with Gabriel de Alba, the GDA of GDA Luma. So that's your Texter adjacent update. And that's where we are. So that is the latest in the John Texter adjacent movement. So that's your Tuesday. Then when we come back, it'll be Wednesday. Keep an eye on things. We'll talk about what happened and all the pomp and circumstance, the Serpentina, confetti cannons, and standing on a rooftop at a pier. We'll get into that tomorrow. Dylan Butler's set to join us as well. We'll get into all that stuff. And once again, efforting everything with the Super League and the Super League Championship, Lexington, and Carolina Ascent. And we'll let you know as the week continues to go. So thanks to Kaylor Hodges for dropping by. Thanks to all of y'all. Thanks to unaware that Atlanta United did not get paid. They got paid, I think, 5 of the 25, which is now once again ballooned to basically 30 with interest. So morning, David. Morning, Abby. And 986 MAMC, welcome aboard. Glad you're here. Rumors of top EU managers making their way to the United States. However, most clubs use non-traditional methods of recruiting said names, which plateaus their chance of getting said coaches. So we'll see what happens there. Welcome aboard. Yeah, marinara was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Abby. Don't know, Dell, if Jesse Marsh had another offer. Don't know if he did. I haven't heard one. Katie Weaver, alternate version of the story. They're on the top row of BMO's janky stadium edition, fearing for their lives. Probably not wrong. Or hovering over it. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Katie. Morning, David. And I'm thinking it's going to be pretty cringy, Katie. I really do. Morning, Abby. Morning, Ricky. And morning, Dell. And then the roster discussion with everybody in the 26. So I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that I missed, and I think that we got everybody. But as always, thanks for dropping by, as you always do, being a part of things here on SDH AM. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow, and we'll talk about what happened on a pier. We'll talk about all the other things, and we'll bust it down for you. Much plot to y'all. Play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05, unless something happens in the world, and we come back sooner than that. See you in a little less than 22 hours. Enjoy your day, everybody. Stay dry. We'll see you soon. Unless, of course, I forget to hit the close of the show before I try to sign off.